Welcome back. A new poll shows Senator Elizabeth Warren is now the top choice for the Democratic presidential nomination in Iowa. The Des Moines Register-CNN poll shows 22% of likely Democratic caucus goers support Warren, while 20% support former Vice President Joe Biden, who stays second.
This follows comments from Omega Advisors Chairman and CEO Leon Cooperman to our Scott Wapner at Delivering Alpha last week, saying a Warren presidency would be bad for the market.
Right now, the market is assuming Donald Trump is reelected. If it looks like Elizabeth Warren is a credible, or Bernie Sanders is a credible opponent to Trump, the market will not be higher, it'll be lower.
By how much?
Well, all I can tell you is I think she'd be a bear market, and bear markets generally go on for a year and they go down 25%.
So it'll be that severe, if not.
Yeah, I would say that basically her policies are counterproductive. They're negative for capitalism.
For more, let's bring in Libby Cantrill, head of public policy at Pimco. It's early, we know, but how much concern like that from Lee Cooperman are you getting from your clients at Pimco and questions?
Yeah, well, I actually was just in a client meeting right before this, and it was the number one question that was asked. What was our outlook for 2020? But Sarah, you are right. It's really early days. And just to put some context in it, that in the 2008 cycle, around this time, Fred Thompson and Rudy Giuliani were polling ahead. In 2012, Rick Perry was polling ahead at this time. So it is very early days. And importantly, we shouldn't extrapolate so much in terms of polling in Iowa. Because remember, Senator Ted Cruz won the Iowa caucus in 2016. Mike Huckabee won in 2008. Rick Santorum won in 2012. So, I think it's notable. We should certainly take it as new information. But I think it's super early and too early to extrapolate any policy or, for that matter, market implications.
Some news to hit here from the UN General Assembly. President Trump was actually just asked, it's a related topic, about the Chinese delegation's canceled trip to U.S. farms and deferred to Secretary Mnuchin. Listen to this.
That was actually at our request. They delayed that. So we didn't want there to be any confusion. They have started buying agriculture. They're going to reschedule that at a different time. The timing didn't work. But that was purely at our request.
Why was that our request, just out of curiosity?
We didn't want confusion around the trade.
Yeah, but I want them to buy farm products.
There was no confusion. We want them to buy agriculture. They committed to buy agriculture.
Well, exchange there between Secretary Mnuchin and President Trump. Is that something for the market to worry about?
No, and I think, Secretary Mnuchin's account is what we understand as well, that this was USTR and Treasury's request, not just for the Chinese, the optics of the Chinese going to U.S. farms, and maybe be perceived as tinkering with domestic politics. With that said, from what we understand, the deputy negotiations on Thursday and Friday, while, collegial, did not necessarily address the big structural issues that led to the breakdown in talks in May. So, you worry, once again, is the market kind of getting over their skis and overestimating this sort of truce or extrapolating that into settlement when, these big issues, these sort of big underlying issues still remain.
Fascinating insight there to the relationship between the president and his various cabinet members. Libby, back to the question of potential Democratic presidential candidate Warren. Do you expect that she would tack center once she's won the nomination in the kind of traditional mold of either party nominee?
Yeah, look, I think she has to, right? Because if you look at the polling right now on many of her proposals, the majority of Americans, the vast majority of Americans, don't approve of them. Medicare for all, taking away private insurance option, health care for illegal immigrants, what have you. So I think invariably she would have to tack to the center. It's just a question of, has she gone so left, and can she actually do that sort of credibly? And will that necessarily win over independents? I think that's a big question. But again, very early days to even be talking about Elizabeth Warren as a presidential nominee.
Libby, great discussion, even if it's an early one. Thanks very much for joining us, Libby.
We'll have you back before the election.
Yeah, perfect.